Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Positively Awesome Wrestling Podcast with yours truly, Drip King Jimmy Bay Bay, and I'm joined by everybody's favorite, Tidey. Tidey, how are you doing on this festive day?
Well, now that I know that I'm everybody's favorite, oh man, that feels really good. No, I had a long day of 5 pages of Bray Wyatt talk, man, in my own head, man. I think he's making me go schizophrenic, but
you ain't the only one, man. You are not the only one.
But no, yeah. I'm somebody's favorite out there. That feels good. My mom was right. Damn, she's a good woman.
Okay, let's go. Oh man, I blinked and man, 7 comments popped up. Like what? Let's see. With Dustin Rhodes announcing 2023 will be his final year as an in-ring wrestler, I would like to say thank you for 35 years. Yeah, I was thinking about this today when I saw that he was doing this. Dude's been wrestling forever, and it doesn't even seem like it. I guess like when I think Dustin Rhodes, I don't really think of the Gold Dust character, but that was like a huge part of it. And then he was doing stuff in WCW before that. But yeah, he's been doing it a minute, and he still looks pretty good wrestling too.
He out John Cena.
Yes, he did. Hello, babe. What up, Nick? Thank you for joining us, bud. Thank you for joining us.
My boy.
Looking good, babe. That one's to me, not to Tidey.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, gentlemen, and Courtney, and hello, David, and Nick, and everybody, and Amanda, everybody in this chat tonight. How's it going? How you doing, guys? That's for them. That's not for us. We've already discussed. Hold on, I'm just getting this one last thing, and then we can jump into the show. You know what? No, let's go ahead and get it started. I'm gonna let Tidey go first this week. Usually we go in order based on the show that we're representing. But Tidey, what was your favorite part of this week's show? Because it's about to make our heads explode. I think.
Well, I'm gonna a little bit of it because I'm gonna bring up the other ones kind of first because it was kind of all a smack. Oh, come on, man. That head don't explode, man. You got a helmet. But kind of all a SmackDown, really. I mean, I've been busy with work this week. I hadn't had time to really go back and watch more of the Raw, and I watched Raw. Yeah, it's basically Bray Wyatt, and it's there was so much greater things going on in a way with Ricochet's match was damn electric. Yeah, I mean, I wanted
to cut you off again real quick. I know I do this, and I'm sorry. But I was talking last week about the false finishes, and then we had the match on Monday where I was like, "This is the example of a false finish match where it makes sense." This is the other example of false finishes used correctly because Ricochet was basically like, "I have to win. If I don't win, I don't get my rematch. I have to win." So he was just pulling it out of anywhere he could possibly get it, and the false finishes work in this match. So I just want to point that out there. I do know that it sounds like I'm being hypocritical here, but I think there's instances where I do appreciate the false finishes. I don't appreciate them on a week-to-week basis. If they were to have this match next week and it was just a match, I don't like it as much. I think it's silly. But sorry to interrupt. I had to get that in there. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ricochet's match. I really wanted Escobar to win. I looking forward to some positive. Man, look, man. Here's the difference between me trying to understand why certain things work or how it means something to somebody else. Because I wasn't gonna come out here and be like, man, Ricochet's promo was fire. It was the best thing I've ever seen in my life. It was just right enough. Gets a 6 out of 10 on my book, and that's me giving a little more sometimes, I guess. Michael Cole actually came out and had to basically give the promo for Ricochet as he was walking up to the ring. Michael Cole sold it better, in my opinion.
Michael Cole has been selling things wonderfully since Vince was gone. That can't be understated as well. He has been selling the shit out of some things. Michael Cole. He is.
I think he sold Beyblades too, man, on a PLE. So yeah, he's definitely selling stuff.
When they attacked Beth Phoenix during the Edge Finn Balor I Quit match, Michael Cole was in top form. I was invested in this match because of Michael Cole, not because of what was going on because I saw it coming. But Michael Cole was like, "Yo, he's right. They are some bastards, man."
Was it the one where he's almost cussing? Being
like,
someone needs to get that bread out of here.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah.
That was great. But no, yeah, definitely. There's a lot of positives about SmackDown because I enjoyed it all the way through. I enjoyed my NXT as well, but I think SmackDown took the cake for me. And it wasn't a lot of the whatever, man. He did great. It wasn't even Sami Zayn. I wanted to do or think about something different since it's been so dang long about Bray Wyatt and his speech. And here comes the rabbit hole, man. I'm going to try to keep it to a minimum, and hopefully Jimmy gives me a handicap and helps me out, because that speech was kind of reflected on the speech that I barely got to see last week, because I went straight to War Games. But I didn't realize some stuff that went down with Bray Wyatt. The very beginning, Bray Wyatt talks more like, hey, man, y'all saved me. And he comes out, I'm just Bray. And Bray's like being a nice guy. What people forget is that when Bray came out, at Extreme Rules, he had that Uncle Howdy mask on, and he takes it off. I bring this up because Uncle Howdy brings it up later, about 3 weeks in, even recently, like, hey, you're a liar. You want to act like we're not wearing masks. We both know we are, kind of thing. And every time Bray's trying to be a good guy, the first 3 weeks kind of acting like a good guy until the cameraman or whatever that dude bringing the box came by. And Bray's like, tell me, you don't have no idea what I want to do right now. Like, you ever think about when you're in a car and someone cuts you off, what you would do to that person for 30 seconds? And then, it starts getting real.
That popped me because it's like, yo, that's so true.
No, exactly.
You want to see Jimmy lose his mind? Let someone cut him off in traffic, bro.
So I was thinking about what Nick said about schizophrenia, the whole thing with Bray Wyatt coming out saying, hey, I am Bray Wyatt. Well, last week he didn't say, I am Bray Wyatt. He goes more into more of a long speech kind of thing. And he says, like, I think, people were spoiled, social media and all this other stuff. And I was like, oh, he kind of has a message. And it's kind of turning a little bit different from everything that I've seen from the beginning. Here's friendly Bray. Here's Bray that's kind of pissed off. And then you see Bray with LA Knight.
Do you mind if I cut you off real quick?
Please, because
I want to get these. I want to get these comments in, and I think Nick might have helped me connect some dots for you.
Good.
But let me get these comments real quick. We'll get to that in a little bit. The Puma versus Cuerno was the best rematch. Here's a Ricochet versus Escobar from Lucha Underground. Yes, the match was phenomenal. It really was phenomenal. I can't say enough about it. I rewatched that app. He usually watch it. So Nick says, have you noticed that Bray always starts his promos with, hello, my name is Bray Wyatt, because that's how you introduce yourself in therapy and rehab. He says, especially after you mentioned that Friday, makes a ton of sense. And then she says she's noticed that too. So with that, you mentioned he came out in the mask when he first came out, and we haven't seen Bray physically wearing the mask since.
Yeah.
So, and the whole, if this is true, I'm going to take Nick's word for it. Nick is a very smart person. I'm not going to question him. If it's true, and he's literally starting off every promo with, hello, my name is Bray Wyatt, and it's like a rehab session, I think the character you might be looking at is someone who realizes that he's not a good person, and him taking the mask off was him saying, I don't want to be this person anymore. And basically his promos, he's battling an addiction, the addiction of violence, because he wants to hurt people. And when things go bad, people get hurt. And that's the kind of the things he's setting. But he doesn't want, when he's doing his promos, he doesn't come across as the kind of person who wants to do that anymore. He said he seems like he wants to turn that leaf and just be a different person. But you have LA Knight coming in there and he slaps him. He's testing him. What's the quickest way to just make somebody snap? You disrespect them in their face, especially a person who's battling anger issues and these violent tendencies. So, Nick, good job. I didn't think of this before. Tidey, you helped to get this, kind of like last week with the whole you, me, and David thing when we connected dots, and we made it, or the week before with the Solo Sikoa thing, which still blows my mind to this day every time I think of it. But I think that's what we kind of had here. So good job on that, Nick. If that's the case, if it's not, it's still a pretty cool theory, I think. And then all the demons I ever had to fight to rehab were all internal as a comparison. Yes, it's always an internal thing. And when it's presented to you in your face, that's when you kind of like, all right, you want me to be this person? I'll be that person. And that's why like the Uncle Howdy character is who I think is attacking LA Knight. It's kind of like the Bray Wyatt Fiend thing, where Bray Wyatt was all Blues Clues Steve, like, hey guys, we're here to have a good time. And then the Fiend would come out and it's problems. Sometimes you got that Bray coming out, and then other times you got the Fiend coming out. I think you're going to have that with Bray and Uncle Howdy this time. But when Uncle Howdy comes out, you better be scared because the violence will
terrifying.
Yes. Sorry to cut you off. I wanted to get that in there because it went hand in hand with what you were trying to say. So.
No, I'm all for the cutting off, man. That's the whole thing of the conversation, and it needs to be there. But yeah, schizophrenia. So I looked up schizophrenia after I heard Nick talking about it on his Friday night recap for SmackDown, and it's like, and it says a lot of in America alone, like 68% of people think that schizophrenia is multiple personality disorder. It's like it's not personal. It's nothing to do with a different personality, because that's what I was kind of going with when I saw Howdy.
Before he came on, that's where I was going with it, because you had multiple personality things to work with. But since then, I've jumped off that. I don't think it has anything to do with multiple personalities.
But schizophrenia sounds pretty close. I mean, I was looking up definitions and symptoms like hallucinations, seeing things that people don't see, hearing voices. Because he's definitely hearing these things or seeing these things. I haven't seen him acknowledge it until I think last week, where he actually looks when the actual Titantron comes on. He actually looks at it, and I was like, oh, okay, so he did look at it, because I always thought it was just we're just getting to see what's inside of his mind that's messing with him. But yeah, what's his face dude on SmackDown commentary says, yeah, Bray seems like a man who's trying to change. The last 2 weeks he's shown remorse, but he comes out with that promo of, instead of saying, hey, I'm Bray Wyatt, he's like, you know what I think is pretty wild? I think we're spoiled today. Society has given us this lavish lifestyle where we're all shrouded in technology and everyone has manners. He goes on further to say, basically, we're like rabid animals. I think we forget that, and we're all just wild animals. Spiders eat flies, even to this day. Snakes eat rats. But nobody looks at this like an act of violence. Keyword violence. It's like he's justifying, because now I guess he's probably putting the mask on a little bit, I guess you put it that way, of him accepting the violence and accepting what Howdy's telling him to give into. But I thought it was a really good speech in a way, but at the end, but we don't dare talk about it. Like, these are just human beings. It's what we do to survive. But we have these, primal urges, primal thoughts, but no, let's not dare talk about it, because we're all trying to fit someplace in society, and act like we're not these things, like we're hypocrites or something.
Yeah.
So I find it kind of curious, because the week before Howdy's like, I know what he thinks, I know what he feels, and how's he started off? I think we're spoiled. I think we simply forget that we're all just wild animals. So the deep side of Bray, that I guess it's that primal instinct. It is that violence. And he's kind of like, he doesn't care for people who are trying to fit in societal terms and, be okay.
Yeah.
And get by, when he's like, this is bullshit, because reality is, I hate this person, or I hate this, or I'm going to be violent, or I have really primal urges. But I found that really curious. And then he brings up LA Knight, how LA Knight, what do you say? You rejoiced in, how you rejoice in how primal of you. But he said, but I hurt you. Because
I thought he said he didn't do it. I thought he said that he didn't do it, but he knows who did.
I'm not the one that hurt LA Knight. I didn't. But then he stops and he pauses and he says, but I hurt you. And how you rejoiced, how primal of you.
So that's them switching between the angry Bray and the remorseful Bray. That's what I would take from that, I guess. Just an interesting to hear. It's kind of like he's saying the same as Alexa with the Bray logo. She never acknowledges that they are there. The only person I think that has acknowledged it was LA Knight. I think that's interesting. I don't think anybody else
he's targeting.
Yeah, but so it's like LA Knight sees it, he acknowledges it, and Bray's like, "Oh, hold on, what's going on here?" So it's intriguing to him, and that kind of that's an interesting take to look at it, because again, if I'm wrong and someone's here and they can tell me, go ahead, please tell me I'm wrong here. I cannot remember anybody else acknowledging like the things that are happening on the screen when things are going on, like the flashes on the TV screen or whatever else little tricks that he's been playing. But I think that's an interesting thing to do, because again, I've always thought that a lot of this wasn't, it's only on screen to give us an idea of what's going on in their heads. I don't think it was ever something that's intended to come to fruition and be a reality, like the Uncle Howdy character. I'm starting to lean more towards the fact we might actually see Bray with the Uncle Howdy mask, not the Uncle Howdy character, though. I think that's in his mind, and that's why we only see it on TV. And same with Alexa. I think the symbols are just kind of like, she knows Bray's back. It was a big deal. So Alexa clearly knew he was back. And now we're just seeing these moments where she kind of like snaps back into her previous incarnations of herself or whatever, however we want to word that. But yeah, I think they are using a lot of things on TV just as invites into what they're seeing or battling within their own mind. And that's cool, because I don't think we've seen a whole lot of that. So for people to dive into it is it could be very, very interesting and fun. And then Nick says he's a schizophrenic himself, so that's how he made the connection. His character reminds him of himself in a weird way. And Courtney is agreeing with Dave that she's never acknowledged it. So again, that is interesting. If LA Knight is the only one, and now he's getting brutally attacked every week now, maybe don't acknowledge it if you see it. That would be my tip for the day.
Yeah. But I think nobody better than LA Knight to run this with, because damn it, LA Knight's doing such a good job. Yeah. He is really sticking it back to him. And I'm like, man, I'd be a little bit intimidated to Bray. Like, I keep forgetting his name, the commentator from NXT that I love.
Oh, Wade Barrett, man.
Wade Barrett's like,
bad
Bray's
news,
a scary
Barrett.
guy. Why are you poking the bear when it's Bray? And I'm thinking the same thing. But for LA Knight, might want to smack him, but he's out there like in a sling.
He smacked him twice.
Oh man, and that's how I do things. A 2-for-1 special. I mean, talk about really pissing somebody off, because like that's really good competition for Bray on the mic, or just for them to cut a program. This is like my favorite thing going on right now. Besides anything slowly progressing with the bloodline, I'm getting immediate effects right now with Bray in LA.
Yeah,
I'm loving that about it. That's kind of my favorite moment, and I can't really break down. I don't think anybody can fully look at where it's truly going, or what is Bray, what's really in his mind.
When you brought it up earlier, I was like, yeah, I hopefully we just have another one of those coming of, like, it just pops in my head as we're talking about it moments, like we did a few weeks ago. And like it kind of did, because I feel like I have a better understanding of the character now. I feel like I really do feel like it is a person who's just battling his inner demon, and which is something I've kind of thought for a minute, but the whole anger and rehab thing, all that kind of makes it seem a little bit more realistic to me now. So
here's one more piece of the puzzle. I looked up schizophrenia, and they're talking about hearing voices, but or even seeing things. But when you hear voices, it can be someone Uncle Howdy, or it could be someone unfamiliar at times, or people who suffer from schizophrenia. Or how they get to it is like he keeps bringing up he had a bad childhood, man. I went through some stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's traumatic childhood or a traumatic moment that makes you snap. I know a real life person that had a traumatic moment, and honestly, she snapped like a week later, and it was never the same. That stuff is crazy, but I think he's playing the schizophrenic role to a T. I'm really hoping it's not what I was thinking, because he keeps calling him a liar. And then the last video was him kind of with a crowd of people putting on masks, and it's like, don't follow him. Like, this is all fiction, is what Howdy keeps saying. He's like, he's lying to y'all. The truth is, he wants you to feel good. He can make you feel good with his words. He can make you think you're important, is what Howdy keeps warning. I'm like, okay, Howdy giving out warning signs. and I don't want it to be like, hey, he's pulling a fast one on all of us. He's acting like a good guy, getting you on his side, whatever reason, but it's not what's intended. He's still the cult leader, and he's just messing with people, and he's using the fans like us to get behind him or something like that.
Kind of like a cross, almost like a cross between the Eater of Worlds and the Fiend, kind of, because he was after the fans to follow him when he was Swamp Bray. Like, that's kind of what he was doing. Like, he was trying to lure them in, which was what sold me on him, because he lured me in. So, and then the Fiend was kind of just about hurting people, including Bray himself. So this, I guess it's a mix. David also, I think he worded this perfectly. It's like a hidden entity that is slowly taking over the host again. So
that's a good way of putting it.
That's a great way of putting it. Great way of putting it. And he draws a lot from the horror genre too, which he is a big fan of. Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably why I'm so interested, because I love horror movies and I love wrestling. And now Bray is bringing both worlds into one to combine me with this wonderful storytelling stuff. And I absolutely love it. But
LA Knight's the best person to do it with them.
We might be completely wrong in whatever little thoughts we have on it, and he could give us something completely different.
That's how he's not left enough bread trails, but he's left enough to get you to kind of piece together what might be going on.
It's that dangling carrot, man.
Howdy's the bullshit that's messing everything up. Now he's telling me that he's lying, and he's showing the cult leader pictures over and over again. He's like, dude, he's just juking all of you, and you're falling for it. You're becoming his fireflies. He's not a good guy. Remember who he is. Revel in what you are, which is his violence. Like, this is not the guy to follow. This is bullshit, and Bray's a liar. And he keeps saying that, and I'm like, I don't want to see that.
I just know, I think like a month after Bray had returned, I dare say, I had the audacity to say something along the lines of like, I just don't know how he's going to pull this off and make it interesting in a professional wrestling world to me. And I just want to correct myself, because that was absolutely foolish, because I'm completely invested in the story, and it completely works with the LA Knight thing. And he's shown me why. Like, I'm seeing. He
said how it would work in wrestling, and with someone else to fight against, and it's working with LA Knight.
It's working so far for me, and this is what I was talking about when I said, like, I think I'm better than the creative, so that's why I invest myself more, because I'm like, I know I'm better. Prove me wrong if you're not going to go my route, and then I like really dive into what they're giving me, and I ended up appreciating and liking it. So they're proving me wrong. So. Good job, because I'm completely invested. I have no idea where it's going, but I'm invested, and those are usually the funnest rides. Bray is blaming the audience as a way of avoiding taking responsibility for his past, which is something an addict will do. So that just adds more to that whole the violent rehab addiction schizo. Like, there's layers to this shit. It's so good, but we've dabbled on Bray, and just to give a heads up, I didn't say this at the top of the show, but I will. After we talk about our favorite things, we're going to run down the hits and misses of Triple H's returns, because there's been quite a few at this point, and I'm starting to see people get upset about it. So we're going to kind of break it down and try and at least change your mind on a few of them. Maybe, hopefully, we'll see. So with that was Tidey's. My favorite part of the show, my favorite part of last week, and there was a lot. There was a whole lot. SmackDown was great. I rarely say that I think SmackDown was the best show, but I think last week it was the best show. The main event was amazing. The Bray stuff is fun. The Bloodline stuff is fun. Even when Roman's not there, it's still, that just goes to show who the real MVP is. Sami Zayn.
And Shayna looked great. Shayna looked like a killer.
Yes, I enjoyed that. I saw people complain about. I enjoyed it. Like, and Emma didn't need to win. I saw people complain, oh, she's losing it. Well, you complain when Shayna loses, so you can't complain when Emma loses and Shayna wins. You can't have it. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Whatever that stupid saying is. Technically, you can, but you can't complain when one person loses and then complain when the other person loses instead. That doesn't make sense. But I rambled. I'm talking about the main event of Monday Night Raw, because it was absolute freaking perfection. I don't think this is the photo from the match. I apologize. I couldn't find it on last minute, but it doesn't matter. You know what I'm talking about. Kevin Owens versus Jey Uso. They did some great storytelling at the top of the show with it, but then the match, because it's a complete 180 from what we had originally saw at the beginning of the show when Kevin Owens was like, I want nothing to do with you, Sammy. And I think I touched on this on the Raw recap, and I was talking to you about it. That's not how it came across in the match. Kevin Owens was fighting for Sami Zayn there. Sami Uso. He's got 3 last names at this point. Now that just goes to show I'm not as biased as you like to think I am sometimes, man. I know good shit, Dave. I know good shit. Monday Night Raw was a thing of it was so damn good. The fact is, for one person we pushed, other people have exactly. It drives me crazy when people complain about that so much, and we're going to talk about that when we go over the hits and misses. But back to Kevin Owens, Jey Uso. Kevin Owens was like, I want nothing to do with you, Sammy. I'm done with you. I wipe my hand cleans of you. But then he does the match, and it's like he's like, I can't do that to my best friend. I just can't. He says, my words are not getting through to him. Let me show him how much more he means to me than he means to them, or whatever way you want to look at it. Yeah. He's trying to show Sammy, look, man, this is what I am willing to do. I am going so deep to try and show you this ain't gonna work for you, man. I want to help you. If you're not gonna listen to me, show me. So he's kicking out. He's taking everything Jay has. And Jay, bro, we talk about like Sami Zayn is like the MVP. Jey Uso has completely like changed. Like, I don't think he's a great wrestler, but he puts on a phenomenal show in that ring because he has like 4 moves he sticks with. It's pretty basic. Don't crucify me, people. I'm not hating on the Usos. They put on very good, entertaining matches, but if you pay attention, they kind of just do the same moves over and over again. They don't really have an offensive repertoire to make themselves like as good as they probably could be. But Jey Uso was awesome in this match. Like, Kevin Owens always gets praise, but Jey Uso I don't think gets enough praise. It's like we forget that him and Roman Reigns told like a beautiful masterpiece during their rivalry. It's like we forget that, and it's like, come on, man. The matches he had with him were just great. And Jey Uso's been in quite a few main events since then, and he shows out every single time.
Yeah.
I never thought one of those two could, like, they could split the Usos and they'd be okay. But Jey Uso is, again, he's changed. They've proved me wrong because Jey Uso looks awesome. Kevin Nash made a career out of 3 moves and a bottle of vodka. Hey, I'm not hating on it because if you can put on an entertaining match with 3 moves, go for it. John Cena did it for how long? I love John Cena. So it's not a knock on someone that does so few moves. It's how they utilize them. And I think the Usos have went from just kind of overkill to the moves to working them into the match to where it makes more sense instead of just hitting the moves just to hit them. Well, we got these hits. We got to hit them. They're like, okay, I'm doing this move at this time because it's going to mean a lot more. Or if we do this at this time, it's more impact and it means more for the story they're telling. And that's what they've done. Jey Uso especially. So damn good. And then a lot of people were like, because it cut off. The show cut off. Basically, Kevin Owens won, exited the ring. There was no like in-shot ring for like 10, 15 seconds like they normally do at the end of the Raw. They just basically were like, Kevin Owens left the ring and they cut. I think that was intentional. There was no like, we're not going to linger on this. Kevin Owens came, he did his job, let's go. That way we can't look at what's going on in the ring and kind of try and figure out, oh, well, what's next? They're like, nope, you don't get it. You don't get that opportunity this time, buddy. Just know that Kevin Owens just gave everything he had, beat Jey Uso, and he's gone, and he'll be back to take on the next one next week. And Sami Zayn, and I pointed this out on the recap as well, Solo Sikoa was on the opposite side of the ring the entire match. So when he came over to when he tripped up Kevin Owens on the apron, Sami Zayn was already there. but he had removed himself from the situation after Jimmy got super kicked off the apron. Sami Zayn just backed up and said, you know what? I'm not getting involved with this. Kind of like he was doing before War Games. And then Solo Sikoa had to come around and do that. And now Solo Sikoa will be the reason Sami Zayn's out of the bloodline. I'm firm on that belief at this point.
That'd be crazy to see Solo choking him out or something at an episode.
I think it's going to be a hit. I think it's going to be a hit, but yeah, they just do the same moves that are very high. Yeah, they do. And like I said, I think they incorporate them a little bit better. They're kind of, I can get behind that 100%. I think they're more charismatic. This is going to sound crazy. I don't care. Charismatic and high energy. I think they're more that than the Briscoes are. Not a knock on the Briscoes, because the Briscoes are really good. But from what I've seen of them, I think the Usos are just more high energy, more charisma. Sorry. But both
definitely have more charisma and passion.
If they had if they were having a best of 7 series like the what's going on with the Elite and Death Triangle, I think that would be more entertaining. The Briscoes and the Bucks. I can't believe I said that. Briscoes and the Usos. So I think that would be a lot of fun. I think that would be a whole lot of fun. Anyways, I just took a shot at the Bucks for no reason. I apologize. But that's it. I really enjoyed the story they were telling with the Kevin Owens match with Jey Uso. And maybe I talk about it. Maybe I'm literally pulling out of nowhere because I'm just so in love with this story. Maybe so. But if I'm right, I'm happy because that's a really, really cool, fun story.
It was the unwritten story. He should have been not kicking out, but he wasn't gonna put up with the fact that the family that he's choosing is gonna let him down. He's gonna beat their ass. He's not taking it. Yeah.
But the thing with kicking out is like in wrestling, how can you give the audience the visual that you can't put Kevin Owens down? It's to do the false finish. So that's why you kind of have to incorporate the kickouts, because it's like that should have took him down, but then he kicks out and is like, oh, they really can't put. I don't think there's any other way you could do that in wrestling to kind of paint that visual for the audience to let you know, like, Kevin Owens isn't staying down. He's literally going to fight until you kill him or beat you, and he beat him. So it's not even dear. Bucks, fuck the Bucks, man. But that's that. That was my favorite. And dude, 2 amazing main events from WWE this week. What was NXT's main event?
Let me think. I mean, I can
tell you right now, I didn't like AEW's main event, but that's a personal preference. But
I'm trying to remember. I think a lot of the NXT show was really good this week. I just can't remember a lot of it because I honestly work way too much.
Only a few more weeks, man. Only a few more weeks.
I was just trying to focus on SmackDown and Raw this whole week, basically.
Gotcha.
But I did get my NXT, and I'm just trying to remember exactly what the main event was. Yeah.
So, Nick, this is kind of what we were talking about on the show. I think it was last week. Maybe it was the week before. I'm not sure. With Solo Sikoa, he was sent by the Chiefs because they talked about that like during his SmackDown debut. They said that he was sent, and then Roman's like, I don't care who sent you. You're going to acknowledge me right here. So we do know he was sent. We just don't know why at this point. I don't think the family is going to have anything. I think Roman is just going to order a hit, and Solo is going to basically play his cards because eventually he's going to take Roman's spot. That's what I think. Okay, NXT was I don't even know.
Yeah,
but I just want to touch on this because I've seen a lot of people hating on it. And did it look silly? 100%. Should she have sold it differently? Probably. But I'm not going to knock her because the kick she didn't kick anything because she was selling the injured knee. As soon as she hit the ground, she literally grabbed it. Again, it did look silly. I'm not saying it didn't. But, man, I saw way too much hate on that. Like, way too much hate. She intentionally did what she did. She was selling the knee.
It wasn't like it was a flop and she messed up.
Yeah, it's not like she missed a kick. She ain't going to miss a kick. Ain't she like a kickboxing champion or some nonsense like that?
Her kicks look dangerous, man.
Yes, but I just wanted to touch on that. one last time. It looked silly. You could laugh at it 100% because it was funny looking. She was selling the knee, though. Come on. We ain't going to knock people for selling. That's the last thing I'm going to do. Even if you oversell it. I appreciate it when you oversell it. I think it's funny as shit. But we're going to move on. Triple H's returns, hits, misses, and longevity. There, we'll use that word. It was a 6-woman tag. I don't even know who the other people were, but Casey and Caden and Nikita versus Toxic Attraction.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to name a name, and you are just going to tell me if you think they've been a hit so far, if you think they've flopped them so far, not the talent, the booking, if they've just messed them up in booking. Okay. And then we'll kind of have just a real short conversation on if you think there's anything long term for them or not. We won't go the bad route and say they're going to get released or become members of catering. We're not going to go there. We'll just say if we think that there is a realistic reason to be hopeful for their longevity. How about that? That's better. That sounded way nicer. She's still learning, has a lot of things to do at this stage. It takes time. 100%. Again, I'm not a Nikita fan by no stretch of the imagination. I see she gets a lot of hype and a lot of praise from a lot of people. I know why, and it's not because of her talent. I'm sorry to say that, but it's kind of true at this point. There's potential. I hope she reaches it. I love women's wrestling. I think it's fantastic, and I want more people to be involved. But what she is right now ain't it. It ain't it. So, but first name on this list, Karrion Kross, and we'll just say with Scarlett because they are a package deal at this point. You're not going to get one without the other. So, do you think that they have hit the money with Karrion Kross? They've messed them up. We'll stick with that for now. What do you think?
I think it's money. It's just going to take a while to. Like everybody I know that they brought back, it's not like they're getting matches every week and they're involved in some great storyline. Yeah. But what Karrion's been doing, those video packages or whatever he's doing, even last week, I thought that was great. I mean, and then just the interest with keeping him and Scarlett together. So that's a hit for me. That's a definite hit for me. Okay. Even though I feel like I haven't seen him in 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know what's going on, but he finally came back.
Yeah. This is going to shock some people. I think they've missed the mark with Karrion Kross so far. That's not just that. Yes, booking, not Karrion Kross at all. I know a certain someone, and he'll let us know he doesn't like Karrion Kross in the ring, and that's fine. It's a different style. He's a slow, methodical, just hurt you kind of guy. I like that in wrestling. I think you have to have those kind of people. I think his promos. Here you go, David. His promos are interesting, some of his indie ones, but it hits a brick wall when he hits the ring. And again, that's where the difference comes. I think his promos are great. I do enjoy him in the ring. I think they screwed up by having him go after Drew McIntyre first.
Oh, yeah, that was a big
mistake. Because once you beat Drew, where do you go from there? Like, yeah, I mean, where do you go? You can't go anywhere. And then you already have, if he's supposed to be this big bad, you look at Roman Reigns, he's the top dog over there and he's a big bad. So Karrion Kross is not dethroning that right there. He's already one down. He's not the top bad guy. He's number 2 at the most with Roman Reigns there. Then you look at what Gunther's doing. He's another big bad. So now you got to knock Karrion Kross down again. So now he's the 3rd big bad on your show, where Drew McIntyre is kind of your only big baby face. So he beat Drew. Now what? Like, Roman? You can't do this now because he hasn't done anything to kind of, like, he hasn't done anything to stand out to get there. So
that makes sense. I mean,
it's going to take time for Karrion to get back into it. And then he is not the best in-ring worker, but he's a great character guy. Hopefully the remainder single will put him back on track. And that's where I'll say, I think if he would have came in and attacked Rey Mysterio first, that would have been a much better idea because you can build on that. And not just Rey, there's a few. Drew hurt him. I think that right now. And I hate to say it because I love, he is a wonderful human being, like a wonderful human being. I hope he gets everything he wants in this world because he's that great of a person. hopefully they can figure it out. Now, with that, I will say longevity-wise, I think they can correct this and they can get him to where they want him to go. 100%. He has the look. He has the character. The presentation is there. It's there. They just have to book it to where it makes more sense. Like Raw, he'd be perfectly fine right now, I think. I think he'd be much better on Raw right now.
I did think when they brought up, hey, he shows who's the next person, Scarlett, and it's like Rey Mysterio, and I'm like, and it's the Emperor card. I'm like, what do you mean, Emperor Lucha Libre, Santos Escobar? But no, it was Rey, and I'm like, oh, why are you going after Rey now? And like that I didn't really get. I think you're right. If he would have went after Rey first,
I think there's something to tell with Rey. It has kind of the similar thing they did with Drew. Like, you were the chosen one, and I got cast aside, and then he's like, what is it? When like one of the animals at the farm, they've lived too long. Now they got to take them out back for the slaughter because you're just not doing us anything anymore. That's the thing you could do with Rey. I think that's and again, I think that's cool. And it would have been much better if they did this first. Rey will give his matches a different dynamic, big guy, little guy, and Rey can eat the losses. And Rey has that just natural, the crowds just love Rey. So when he's getting his ass beat down, they are going to hate Karrion Kross. I think it's going to give him more heat than beating Drew. So it's a good way to do it. I just told you what the Rey Karrion thing is going to be. He's taking the sheep out for slaughter because it's not producing what they need him to produce anymore. He's taking up too much valuable time. Next up, Braun Strowman, hit or miss.
So the way you said it a second ago, because I'm thinking a hit is this, I think it can work longevity and be okay.
I think hit means like they've used them to the point where you don't have a problem. Like, it's been good. Like they've been done good since they've come back. They haven't just kind of been crapped on.
I would say that's a hit because I haven't had a problem with him yet.
That's fine.
I'm like, it's okay. I'm not enthralled by it, but I'm like, this is okay.
There's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer here.
Okay. I'm okay with him right now. So I guess like a hit, I guess. Yes.
I think Braun Strowman's been a hit. Every little thing that they were taking away from him before, they've kind of given him back. It sounds crazy, but the theme music does everything for me because it's such a high energy, just rock song that like when I hear it and I see him storming to the ring, I'm like, shit's about to happen. It's little things like that just kind of trigger things in my head where I'm like, oh, okay. The music is awesome. They got rid of the choo-choo sound. Thank goodness.
Oh, thank God.
Braun is just an angry person who wants to hurt you. And he's a big that can actually work as opposed to the other guy that people have a problem with, Omos. I think Braun's a much better worker than a lot of people want to give him credit for. And I think always having a big guy like that who can work is a good thing to have on your show. And I think they've used him perfectly. And I just also want to point out that he made his little Twitter comment about flippy wrestlers last week. And I think the man did it on purpose because he knew he was going to beat Ricochet or he was going to lose the Ricochet and the fans were going to eat it up and have fun with it. I think he set the fans up with his comment 100%. And I think it's hilarious. And I like Braun. He's been a hit for me. So we both think he's a hit. So I'm assuming we both think in the long run, he's going to be okay.
The way they're presenting him now, and like I said, I've been okay with it because I would be the first to say I'm not okay with it because as it dwindled, when he first came out, he was great. I loved Braun when he first back then, and then it kind of got old and get these hands thing, and all of the stuff started happening. So I would be the first to say there's not a chance you can do anything right with him.
They put the title on him too late last time.
Yeah, and then so now I'm okay. And I have a feeling that I'll be okay if they keep it at this trajectory. It seems like they found a good formula, maybe exactly like you're saying, use him in this way. I think they're going to be okay with him. Is he going to be a top guy? No, probably not. But, a monster is already a monster. He has his own prestige about him.
Again, when we see Gunther chop this man down and beat him down to it's a cool visual for the audience. And that's why you use someone like Braun. And I think they're using him perfectly. And I think Braun's here for the long haul. He'll be completely okay. I know it's big shoes to fill, but he can have a big show like career as long as he doesn't do anything stupid.
Yeah,
I think he can. And there's nothing wrong with that. Big Show made lots of money. lots of money.
I like the Big Show.
Yeah. Next up, Hit Row. Hit or miss.
Again, I'm basing this more on do I feel okay with them and I like seeing them all the time. That gives me hope that it'll be fine. Yeah, they're a hit for me. Oh. Now, do they have other tag teams to really rival right now? It seems like they're building their tag team. Think about all the tag teams that just came out of nowhere. They're one of them to build something. So that's kind of why I was shocked when Drew and Sheamus were fighting the Usos. I'm like, man, there's other people kind of at least get a program to get squashed. I don't know. Yeah. But anyways, no, I think they're a tag team that's needed. I like Top Dollar. I like how he talks. I like B-Fab. Adonis, I'm okay with. You know, he doesn't stick out too much, but he fits great with them. Adonis. Yeah, but he fits great enough with them. So I think they're a good package, and they're going to be here for a while as well. So hit for me.
I think they've been a hit. I think when people get signed, I think a lot of people automatically think like, okay, are they a world champion? They're not. That's a terrible signing. I think a lot of people's minds go there, and that's just insane to me. It's world champ or bust for a lot of people. And I'm like, that's insane to me. Hit Row are a great act. Are they going to be over everywhere? No, they're not. But in those places they are over, it's going to make for a good part of the show where the audience can participate and have a good time. And then you have a tag team that can just go in there. They'll win some, they'll lose some. They'll never be a big time player, I don't think. I just don't. I don't think that's anything bad. Again, I think knowing your role on the card is good, and they seem to know their role, and they have no issues with it. They're happy to be there from what I've seen and heard. Like they're happy to be there. And they're not being pushed to the moon. They've been used for beatdowns a few times. We need those kind of people. Hit Row is pretty much dog. I will say with Swerve, it came across as a bigger deal, but I think it can still work without Swerve. It just won't be a big deal. And we need acts like that so that Los Lotharios, let's just say they came back this week and they need to build their resume up to get to the tag titles. Oh, let's beat Hit Row. That's what they're there for. So I like them. I think they're a hit so far. And as far as longevity goes, I think as long as they're okay being in that role until they hit some kind of gold and they strap the rocket to them if this happens, and they'll be fine. I think they'll be a big part of the show, and they will help. They will help big time if the tag team division ever finds itself again.
It seems like they're trying. They're trying, definitely. So let's hope so.
Yeah. Total miss with Hit Row for me. They're not being handled well without Swerve. But again, like you could treat them like a big deal with Swerve because you had Swerve there to back it up, and he was a big deal. You don't have that anymore. So you kind of just got to treat them like, I'll just use another kind of musical reference tag team. The Headbangers. The Headbangers were nothing crazy. They were nothing major. There was a tag team. And they had a tag team division. So
I've got to say something. All right, so I love Top Dollar. Okay. B-Fab's been working harder with Natalia. I like their promos. They can definitely speak. I feel like, yeah, it's kind of about who are they fighting or how are they setting up the program. Like, is there going to be real promos or real beef? You can say they kind of dropped it with Legado del Fantasma. I thought there was more to go with them in a sense. But I think that is the mystique of like, they're going to be a big deal immediately. I think everybody on the list is slowly getting integrated into their spots on TV in general.
Yeah.
No one's being pushed to the moon. Any of them. I think Gargano with The Miz a little bit, but I think, and then people are going to keep looking at like, well, you don't got Swerve, so you suck. I don't think that's fair. I mean, I think they're good enough, and I think their promos are great, and I think they can speak. So time will tell when that happens.
Yeah.
I think they're damn good. So I don't think they need Swerve.
I think NXT would be a better spot for them, to be honest. Yeah, absolutely. I think I didn't get bringing them to SmackDown. It didn't really make sense to me. I thought they still had a lot of work to do on NXT. The only reason they came up the first time is because Swerve was there, and you needed to get Swerve on TV. He's too damn good not to. But as far as he handled well, I just don't think I don't think they're as big of an act as people want to still think they are. Without Swerve, they're significantly lesser of an act. And if that's hey, and that's not to say they can't change it. Again, if they get lightning in a bottle, like Sami Zayn, obviously they won't get that much lightning in a bottle. But if they just get a little bit of lightning in a bottle and just get that wave and ride it, they can go somewhere. But if they don't, it's not a failure, in my opinion. Their job is to go in there and fill up the tag division and be entertaining every once in a while for people. And they do that. So
thank you. That makes sense to me. Yes, thank you.
Next up, we'll make this one real short because I ain't talking about these guys. Good Brothers, hit or miss?
Barely a hit. I just liked them. They were funny back then, but they're not funny right now. What's going on?
I'll say this. I think they're a hit. I think putting them with AJ has worked well. It is weird to kind of see them in a good role, of the babyface side role, if you will. I think they've been used well. As far as longevity, no, they'll be gone in less than 2 years. That's just what they do. So,
okay.
David said, put them to NXT so they can get the belts off Fabio 1 and Fabio 2.
Pretty Deadly.
Pretty Deadly is funny. That should come to shock. That should shock nobody. I like Pretty Deadly.
Awesome.
We were just talking about a little bit ago when you brought up Johnny Gargano. I guess we didn't mention his name, but he falls into the same category. Dexter Lumis, hit or miss?
I think it was a miss how they took so long to do this ridiculous story just to say that. Oh man, what a horrible way to bring somebody up and with the story, and it was kind of stale. Whatever, man. But at least Johnny's, like you said before, at least Johnny's getting time and he's getting warmed up, promo, time in the ring slowly. But yeah, I didn't like the way that was done with Dexter in general. But I love Dexter, so he'd be fine. But I didn't like the way it all went down.
I agree, it's a miss, and the only reason it's a miss is because this story that I actually do enjoy, I think hiring him to do the thing makes perfect sense for someone like Miz. Everything about the story is cool, except for the fact that it could have been told in like a month, and it seems like they stretched it out 2.5 months or something like that. It took way too long, way too long. So if they could have condensed it, I'd be having a different conversation right now. I'd be saying they were a hit, but I think it's a miss. And with that, longevity, quick. Do you see Dexter being around for the long haul?
Yeah, as long as they use him like they use him in NXT. He's just the creepy dude that can be there. Now, when you think about like who is he going to have a matchup with all the time, and man, I'm thinking he'll be better if he had a partner. So if they did a version of The Way or Johnny as his buddy, and he's tagging around Johnny being funny because Dexter's getting into antics, I think that'll be great. But because Dexter can do that kind of stuff with The Way as an example, I think he'll be fine.
The Good Brothers work really well with AJ, but you're right. They're going to only be there for the short term. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how it used to be back in the day with WWE and WCW. Jeff Jarrett went from WWF to WCW and then back to WWF within the span of like 2.5 years. He's like, I'll sign a 1-year contract. And then he went back to WCW again. So as these short runs, they're fine. I think that's good. That helps keep things fresh. We're having longer careers than ever now, so you don't see as many fresh faces step up and go up the ladder in WWE that much anymore. But Dexter will be there for the foreseeable future. Yep. I'm going to disagree. I don't think he will. I don't know why. I hope I'm wrong 100% because I don't want people losing their job for one. And two, I don't have anything against Dexter. I think he could be entertaining. I just don't think he'll be there long run. That's all I'll say about it. Prove me wrong, Dexter and Trips. Please prove me wrong.
I'm okay with that because I have those weird doubts in my head. Like I said, I mean, unless they get him doing something weird with Johnny every now and then, or following him as his bodyguard or something weird, can't just be quiet all the time. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you
can't. I do think him and Indy are about to get back together.
That'll do it for me.
I saw something.
On the Dexter train.
I saw something where he promoted going to an NXT show on Twitter or something like that. So oh, I have a contract now. They can't kick me out. Time to go get my girlfriend or my wife, whatever she's going to be. But
that'd be cool.
An unfortunate flash in the pan is what Nick is saying. And I hate to say it. I really do. But that kind of is what it seems like. But again, prove me wrong. Next up, Johnny Gargano. I think this one will be really short and sweet. Hit or miss for you?
don't like the way it was booked forever with the Miz, but he's a hit and he's gonna be here forever.
Yeah. I would say he's 50-50 on the hit and miss because he's part of that story that took way too long. God. But in the midst of it, he was actually more active than Dexter was, and he was wrestling, he was putting on matches, and he's not winning right out the gate, which I'm happy for because he shouldn't be. But I would say his is probably the hardest one to call for me as far as hit or miss. But longevity,
corny.
Yeah, longevity, he's going to be there a while. The 100%, he's going to be there for a long, long time. So, Bray Wyatt, I think we've talked enough about him. We both think he's been a hit since. So, great job on that one, Triple H. I was going to talk about Eric Young. He hasn't done anything yet. It would be more along lines of like, are you excited to see him come back? But I also heard today that he's going to be in the producer role. So I don't even know if he's going to be on screen. So we won't talk on Eric Young. If that changes, we can talk on it later. But it's now over to the ladies' side. Dakota Kai, hit or miss?
That's a hit for me, period. I mean, I know not everybody liked how Damage Control was taking too much time, etc. But I don't care. I love her wrestling. I love her style. I'm seeing her each week get more comfortable just being around Bayley and doing her thing. So that's a hit for me. All Damage Control is for me. I don't care.
And this is the crazy part is I think I love Io Shirai and I love Bayley. I think they're great. I'm not digging them in Damage Control. I'm not digging Damage Control in general. But with that said, I think Dakota Kai has been a hit because that girl just goes in the ring and produces matches for them. It's like she is the kind of the workhorse for them. I don't ever see her being like a top girl, but she's a girl that can go in there and have matches with them. And if she plays that role and she plays it well, I see her being there as long as she wants to be there.
Yeah. She's excellent.
If she was booked the same way that Bayley's been, I would say she's a miss 100%. I think the way she's been booked and her place on the card matters to me. I don't look at her as a top talent. I look at her as a mid-card talent. And if there was a mid-card title, she would definitely be holding that one day without a shadow of a doubt. She wins matches. She does lose some matches, but someone has to lose. So, sorry, it happens to you, Dakota. But if we're being honest, Bayley and Io are better. That's just the facts of life. So,
no, I'll give you credit to that. I mean, it's my NXT nostalgia.
Because, I don't have anything. Io. I am very high on Io Shirai. I think she's phenomenal, and Bayley is awesome.
Well, we know they're both top level stars. I mean,
exactly.
Even Dakota back in NXT was having that beef with Raquel, but couldn't get past that hurdle.
Io and Bayley could be world champions for your company. I don't think Dakota can. So when someone's taking a loss, she makes the most sense to me. But I think she's been great in her role, and she's definitely hit. And she'll be there as long as she wants to be there. Next up, Candice LeRae. Now, I know she had that gap where she wasn't there. I don't know if she was selling something, if she got injured. I don't know. But with the little bit she has been on, because she's been back for almost 2 months now, but I think she's only been on 4 episodes.
Yeah, pretty much.
But those 4 episodes were just gaps together. So I don't know if she got hurt. I agree. I agree with that one. I like the way they present Dakota when she's on her own. Yeah. And Io has a training wheel. Yes, please do, because she will straight up kill people in that ring. I'm not going to say I think Candice has been a hit. I think they've incorporated her into a storyline that wasn't major, but she was able to incorporate her way into it. She might have been a part of War Games had she not get injured. I'm thinking she probably got injured because it would have made sense because she had beef with Damage Control. But her matches have been solid, and that's crazy to think because she had a baby less than a year ago. She's gotten herself back into condition and is wrestling. So I think she's been a hit. Maybe not a massive one, but she's been a hit. And again, she'll be there as long as she wants to be there. So
I ditto that sentiment. Yeah, that's a perfect way to say it, honestly.
And then the Candace looks to be headed to a program with Nikki, so that could be something really interesting. Yes, more women's programs that don't revolve around the world title, please. Nikki was creeping in the background. I didn't notice that the night of. I would notice it the next day.
Yeah, you showed me the picture.
Shit. I was like, oh shit, that was Nikki. What's she doing back there? That's wild. So next up, Mia Yim.
Oh yeah, she's been a hit for me. I mean, War Games and what she did the last match she did on Monday Night Raw. I mean, she looks great. Period. And she doesn't need to be presented as anything else. She's part of the OC club with AJ, and they're giving her a decent spot because it's AJ Styles with the OC, but AJ is the OC. That's what makes them work. Without AJ, it's nothing. Whatever, in my opinion. But she's given a great spot to be there with AJ, and she killed it at War Games. So I don't think they've done her wrong at all. She got a strong start, kind of like how Emma got a strong start. She's fighting Ronda and Shayna, man.
Okay, so David said this. It hit for me, but it's been a very small sample size. And I'm going to explain to you why. I think this is going to sound ludicrous, but I'm going to say it anyway because I just don't care. I think in the short time we've seen Mia Yim, she's been booked the best out of all the people other than Bray Wyatt. But Bray Wyatt hasn't wrestled either, so that's hard to kind of gauge in there. But literally over everyone else, I think Mia Yim has been utilized the best.
Thank you. That's what I was thinking.
The main reason for it is when they were looking for someone to counteract Rhea. I'm thinking, who is believable enough to counteract Rhea the way she is booked? Because she is legit, like Rhea whooping up on she's suplexing Luke Gallows and stuff. So it's like, what woman are you going to bring to me that makes me really realistically think like, yep, you guys should definitely be confident now because she's going to take Rhea? There's not that many. And, half the roster was involved in the War Games. So it's like, who is it going to be? So they bring in Mia Yim. And had you told me, which people did, that Mia Yim was a possibility. And I'm like, I'm not buying that. And it's nothing against Mia. I just, from what I've seen of her in WWE, there's no reason to think she's going to step in and just handle Rhea. It's just not going to happen. But she has. And it's completely changed my opinion of her. And again, I think she's good. There's not a knock on Mia, her skill at all. But there's always a perception with certain talents. Like, this is your ceiling. Since she's come back, I think she's blown through the ceiling because I wouldn't have told you that she could be a world champion in WWE prior to what she's done with Rhea. Now, I think it's a possibility. If they were able to tell the right story with Mia and she was able to catch that just a little bit of fire, she could be a world champion for you and it would work for me. In War Games, she stood out the most to me as far as the women in that match. She stood out the most. I know Becky took the biggest spot, but Mia Yim had the most creative things to me. And she stole the show, in my opinion. And then for her to kind of do the same thing on Monday night when she had the match with Rhea, then it turned into the 6 or the 8-person match. I bought everything about it. Like, I am fully behind Mia Yim now. So for me, big hit, longevity, push her. Just push her. And she'll stay. I don't have a reason to think she wouldn't. She came back. She obviously knows Triple H is going to utilize her. So hit for me. Oh, yeah, we got that one. Me and Dakota, I would agree with that. I just, if Liv can be world champion, so can Mia Yim.
Stop that.
I have two. Yeah, Mia Yim is legit. Like, and again, I know she's good. It's never been a case of not knowing she's good. Again, ceilings. We all put ceilings on talents. And man, is it awesome when they just prove me wrong. Her ceiling is now so it'll be like a Naomi. That's her level, I think. Is she could have a career like Naomi's, just hopefully more not in spurts. It's all a big run instead of like we get Naomi here, we get her here, and then you have a long gap without her because they don't use her.
Or maybe next year,
yeah. It'll be more consistent run, I think. Next up, Emma, hit or miss.
The hit because of she gets to go into a big spot immediately with Ronda, and then I would say, you know, she kind of got squashed by Ronda. It wasn't very impressive. But then she's with Shayna, and how did they make up for it? The Riddick Moss thing was actually interesting. Like, it seemed like a sweet couple. Hey, I was for it, man. I was indexing that whole thing. It seemed kind of cool, you know. And then she goes out there, it's like, hey, remind, you know, women's evolution wouldn't be without you, etc. Yeah. Go out there, and it gets her pumped up, and she's like, yeah, I got confidence again. She did a really good match with the killer, Shayna, and that helped Shayna look good. And like Nick said, she didn't look bad in defeat. So that's a good way to start. So if I was going to start, hey, can I have a top match and then do good, and I have an interesting story going on with Riddick Moss? I'm on board.
Remind people that you're good. And I think her losing to Ronda in her first match is a great idea, because I'd rather her lose in the first match than 3 months down the road, because, oh, you came back, you lost. Okay. Things happen. Like, you were excited that you returned and you got caught and you're just not used. That's okay. But 3 months down the road, she has a winning streak and then she challenged for the title and she loses. It's like, all right, well, your story ends there. So I like that she did it first match. I've liked her matches so far. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the Moss thing is cheesy as hell.
I'm for it, man.
Bro, I don't have issues when they do love stories and stuff. Whatever. I love movies. Love stories are awesome. Give me a good one. It kind of just seems awkward, which is crazy because they're a real life couple. So it's like, it shouldn't feel awkward. But it's like, they're like, WWE's like, you're a couple? All right, play one on TV. And they're like, what do you mean play one? We are one. So it's like they're trying to play that they're a couple when in all reality, they just have to kind of be more themselves. They don't seem like they're themselves. And that's what's turning me off from it.
What about Becky and Seth? How people were complaining about that, about them having airtime together, acting like a couple. Well, that's the man. Who's the man in the relationship?
If it's done right, I don't mind it. I just, the acting, I think, is the problem for me. They're not.
I didn't know they were a real life couple.
Yeah, they're a real life couple. So
I thought it was her being bashful. I was thinking when I was watching it, how come Riddick has this stone face? Like, he's like, cool. And he's like, he's not having a lot of facial expression, but she's like, oh, I'm crushing and I'm happy. I'm like, oh, that's sweet. Let's see where this goes. Because it made Riddick more interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because Riddick's just been kind of, you know.
He needs something. I don't think this is going to be it. And Emma, not enough there to get a solid idea. And again, I don't want to say she's a miss. I just think if this was to continue another 2 weeks and I have a good month to judge it off of, I would say she's a miss, because the angle is dumb. And it's only going to doom her if they can't turn it around. I don't want to see her get doomed. She's good. She's good. You very much. Oh yeah, she's really good. So I don't want her to falter. But that story ain't it. Jimmy, right? It is cheesy, but I like it. Hey, and if you like it, hey, we all know not everything is for everybody, and nobody knows that more than Jimmy Bay Bay. I preach it every day. So maybe I am the minority here, and y'all enjoy it. I won't say another bad word about it until it blows up in somebody's face. Then I'll be like, I told y'all this shit was bad. But we'll see. Prove me wrong. And there you go. Emma and Moss are really together in real life. Again, that's what's crazy to me, is because
I didn't know that.
I hope that's not how y'all act together in real life. Perhaps they need a manual. Yeah, it isn't. It isn't.
You're on TV, honestly.
Next up was we can't really talk if she's been a hit or miss, but we can talk about what we think. Tegan Nox return on SmackDown. Didn't she end up getting her butt whooped? She came out for the save and then got her butt whooped. Where do you see they're going? Where do you see them going with Tegan Nox?
Well, they mentioned Dakota immediately. So I'm happy about it, because Dakota and her had a good fucking fights in NXT. So that immediately gives her something to do. So I don't really have a problem with Tegan. I know what she's capable of. I don't remember her from NXT. Like, man, she had great promos and this and that. I didn't see that.
She didn't do anything to stand out in NXT.
Yeah. So, but because she's with Dakota, maybe that'd be a good learning ground for both of them to learn how to stick out, start a program that's separate from being the one who loses on Damage Control. You know, like you said earlier, I'm very hopeful for it, because I like Tegan and Dakota's matches back then.
Tegan was good in NXT. I just don't think they ever booked her anything that made her. The most memorable thing she did in NXT was get her butt whipped by Dakota Kai in the cage during War Games. So that, but they did bring her up to SmackDown for a little bit, and she was in a tag team with Shotzi. And David says, get Tegan a tag team book, them strong to keep them together, build a story to the titles. So you said they mentioned Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai is currently a WWE Tag Team Champion. Tegan Nox has now returned to help her former tag team member. You have a ready-made story right there for you. I have no reason to think they won't go that route, and you will see Tegan and Shotzi taking on Damage Control for the tag titles. I definitely see them doing that. And if she's using a tag team and we're building up the women's tag team, then do it, baby. I've been waiting. I've been waiting since day one for you to show any kind of life with the women's tag team division.
Where is it?
Get it going. They're going to put her in a team with Liv to go after Damage Control. That's right. She didn't save Shotzi. She saved Liv Morgan. What am I talking about? Man, you just killed my whole idea. Damn you, Nick the Geek. You can still do it with Liv. No, because it still works to an extent because she's teaming up with Liv. Liv has a problem with Damage Control, so they jumped her, and then Tegan Nox already had beef. So yeah, it still works. I'm sorry, Nick. I didn't mean that.
But can I say that all the people we talked about, like I said earlier, they're not getting tons of TV time, and I can say for a few exceptions, like yeah, you should have booked something smarter in the beginning, say with Dexter or even Johnny was kind of corny and was way too drawn out. But a lot of them, it feels like there's other stories going on, and they're not getting a lot of TV time. Yeah. It seems like they're slowly utilizing, finding better ways to utilize them, where they have a story coming up next year. I don't know. But I don't think any of them are technically buried yet. That wouldn't be fair to say. I don't think any of them. So I mean, I know there is hate on a lot of things, but I don't think any of them are buried yet. It seems
no.
Clearly, they're getting little spots here and there. They are not the main attraction right now. Main attraction is Roman Bloodline and all of the big stories going on right now.
That's a fair thing to bring up. Is neither one of us think that they've been buried or anything like that. It's just so far it hasn't worked, and I think you're going to see a lot more of interchanging talents out. AEW does this pretty good, and hopefully that's something Triple H is going to incorporate because he has a much bigger roster than he's ever had before. So if he wants to tell us stories, he's going to have to do this. Bring some people in, you run them through for a few months, their story gets told. They take a back seat. Next guy comes up. For the people who catch fire, you keep them on the show. You give them bigger things. But for the people who don't catch fire, you just let the next ones come in. And that way you have a rotating schedule. That's kind of the way you want to get, keeps things fresh. Guess what doesn't happen there? Rematches. So if you get a rematch, it's like literally a year apart from that. So that's the benefit of having the roster that you interchange in these kind of stories. And I think a lot of them are doing that right now. Triple H is just trying to find the best positions for them so that after WrestleMania, and he can literally go balls to the wall, and it's officially his show and not remnants of what Vince left behind. Maybe they'll get utilized better or more often. We'll see. But
I'm hopeful.
Yeah. With that, we will touch on one. Hold on. It'll work if they build a story to get there. And like I said, I think with Michael Cole or Wade Barrett, whatever one brought it up, if they brought up their history between Knox and Dakota, I think they've already planted the seeds for it. So they will. Nobody has been there long enough to get the buried designation. Yeah, you know how people react, though, with the buried thing. If I was like, oh, well, they've been a miss, people are like, oh, you don't have no patience. And it's like, yo, I have some of the greatest patience in the wrestling community. So I wholeheartedly agree that none of them have been there long enough to get the buried treatment. But I just know how some people act. That's how it worked in the 80s. Keep the exactly. And Triple H loves the 80s. Last one on the list, though. She hasn't wrestled. She just kind of, I don't know if she even will wrestle. We can't really say she's a hit or miss, but we can discuss longevity. Sarah Logan or Valhalla, I think is what her name is. What do you see for her long term, if anything?
Quickly, I'm very hopeful.
They have
been them as a trio. I liked them as a trio back then. I thought Sarah looked like the most interesting person. She's big, she's strong. She's got a true baby face. So like I always wanted to see her get something different or a chance. And since she hasn't had a technical chance yet, the Valhalla thing is a little stretch for me with the whole Viking thing still going. But I'm willing to play adapting to it if they can pull it off and make it cool. Not try to be like God of War or be like Kratos and be like whatever. But I'm willing to give it a chance because I want to see. I don't think she ever got a chance to try something on her own, and I want to see what she's capable of.
A lot of those girls didn't. That's why I'm glad they got brought back.
I'm really hopeful for her because I think she has a cool look. She's very strong. You talk about people that are just big, like can hang with Rhea. She's a big girl, man. You know, that back then where they're saying she was a hunter, she was throwing axes and shit.
I think
she's cool.
I think she has an MMA background as well. I think she's another one that has an MMA background. So it's
even
like
better.
Yeah, like she could probably still hurt you.
So I'm definitely hopeful, man. I just want to see something soon because I think I watched SmackDown. I didn't see any Valhalla going on. I don't know what's going on.
Sarah Logan is going to be a value to the division if they can book her right. I don't even know if they're going to book her as a wrestler. That's my thing. She kind of seems like she's going to be a manager who kind of gets her hands dirty every once in a while. So
Zelina years later, and then there's some wrestling.
Yeah, they're going to have to sell me on this one because I don't think I've really been interested. I think it's cool that they booked the Viking Raiders the way they should be, in which they're hurting people and beating their asses. That's definitely the way to do it. But something just seems off. And the only thing that's really changed is the fact that she's now with them. So I don't know if that's the reason for it. I don't want to put that blame on her. But I definitely feel like something's off with the Viking Raiders or whatever they're calling them now. I don't even know. They're always going to be the Viking Raiders to me. I don't care.
I've always felt something was off with them, man. They changed their name too many times, etc. And I love those knees by Eric or whatever, but
and I'm agreeing with David 100% here. I just don't think there's a long shelf life because it's just not clicking. And man, if it's not clicking for this guy, the most easily persuaded wrestling fan in the world, probably.
So you're saying something different than Valhalla then?
Yeah. I'm not saying you fire this woman and never hire her back. I'm just saying like remove her from the Viking Raiders and package her into if she's going to wrestle, package her into something different. If she's not going to wrestle, the Viking Raiders don't need a manager. Like they got the drums, it's like whoa, and they come out, whoop your head. Why do they need a manager? That doesn't make sense to me. Especially since she's not a mouthpiece. She's literally there just to like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
Do the ritual. You almost do a Scarlet ritual, I guess. I don't.
Nah, I call them and that's fine too. Again, as long as we're not calling them the Viking Experience, it's all good. But yeah, I just think they need to do something different with her if it's going to work. Because there's a lot of times I look at something, I'm like, that's going to be a hard sell. This is going to be a really, really, really hard sell to me because I like the Viking Raiders, the Viking Raiders, the whatever the fuck the name is. I like them. I like their style. They're brutal. They hurt people. I wish dude would stop doing the cartwheel. That's like my only gripe on them. I think it's a silly ass thing to do in the middle of a match. I would just drop kick you in your belly if you tried to do a cartwheel in the middle of a match on me, and it would hurt. I promise you. So stop doing that thing, and then drop Valhalla because it's not needed. Yeah, right here. I don't even remember her talking on the mic, which means she probably can't. So why is she your manager? Get her wrestling. Get that. Repackage her, please. That's what they need to do. But that's the list. Most of them we didn't have very many misses, but that's a good thing. And for the people complaining that these new people are coming in and losing, again, someone has to lose.
Thank you. They're not part of a main story yet. Or a big story. Or a story.
We're not seeing the 50-50 booking coming back where like Riddle lost to Elias this week, and then next week Riddle got his win back and beat Elias. Then they have their third match in a row. That we don't see that anymore. And part of that is because they're bringing back these people who never really got an opportunity. The only one that did was Bray Wyatt, and we all believed he was wrongfully fired. So I think all these rehires make sense. But losing is part of the game. Like if you can't accept people losing, you probably should find something else to watch. non-combat shows or something like that, because someone's got to lose. They'll get their time. Triple H didn't just bring all these people back for them all to just be losers and jobbers like you guys claim they are. It's going to take a little bit of time. So can we just call them War Machine? No, you can't call them War Machine because no one will know what you're talking about, unfortunately.
The War Machine. Let's get the word Viking out. I think
he said, fix Matt Riddle, Tidey, send Paul that Ospreay. Man, I promise you, Paul knows what Riddle can do. I think they're just waiting to finish his Randy stuff. They're just like in limbo. Like,
it's a great match.
It's
fantastic
match. Talk about Randy was gonna have back fusion. He's gonna be out for a long time. But then his daddy came out and said he'll be back soon. So it's like, I don't know what to believe at this point. It's wild. It's crazy. But I just had to get that in before we left. That's the show. We went over a little bit, but we had a lot to dissect with that list and the Bray thing. I knew we were going to get caught up in the Bray. I knew it was going to happen. I'll never be mad about talking about Bray, though, so that's all good. So with that, thank you guys for joining the show. It's much appreciated, as always. We will be back next week. And as always, we don't know the subject yet, but we'll get there. And when we get there, you ain't going to know. You're not going to find out until I promote the show on Saturday or Sunday. So just come back. It's going to be entertaining. It's always entertaining. And you all love Tidey, so you're going to come back. You're not coming to the show for me. It's because of Tidey. I know. You ain't got to tell me. It ain't going to
like my hat. Check out this hat.
He is the whole effing show. Rob Van Tidey. But yes, we will see you again next week, and I will be back for the Raw recap tomorrow over at WrestleBuddy. And just to plug this one time, Geek Buddy, the Geek Buddy, go check it out. We are doing a lot of stuff with movies and trailers and reviews, video games, anime, all the good stuff. Go check it out. Nick the Geek doing wonderful things. Our good buddy Cy over there doing some things. Myself, I'm doing some things with Nick. It's a very fun show. It is growing. Be a part of the ride. Go subscribe right now and make sure you're watching all the past stuff. We got a lot. And I agree. He should not be with Elias. It is absolutely stupid. But there, I've rambled, and now it's time to say goodbye. We will see you next time, peoples. Later.